Hello everybody, this is Joel and today I'm doing a video on articles and determiners. This is a subject which I don't normally do with my level 4 class because I thought it was easy, but actually there was one time when a student asked me some questions, so I did a little bit about it, and even though it was an advanced class, people said to me afterwards, yeah, thank you for doing that. We find this quite difficult. So even though you may be an advanced student, there may still be something in this video that is useful for you. And we're going to cover definite and indefinite articles as well as the determiner some. So articles are used in front of nouns and they can help you identify the noun in a sentence. It is possible to have no article as well. Using a and the or no article will change the meaning of your sentences. The no article is called zero article by many people. A lot of English learners have problems with articles, especially if they come from a language where they don't have articles or they have a different system. So it is something that is difficult for learners of English as a second or other language. But fortunately, English speakers, when they are listening to you talk, uh, they can understand what you're trying to say most of the time. So it doesn't uh, greatly impact your ability to communicate if you do make a few little mistakes. Just remember though that you don't use articles together with possessive pronouns. So, for example, you might see a question like, or have you got the my car keys, right? So, have you got the my car keys? And that's wrong. You need to use one or the other. So you say, have you got my car keys or have you got the car keys? This is one of the mistakes that I sometimes see in my student writing. So when we're talking about articles, we talk about definite articles or the and indefinite articles and. Remember that the describes a specific thing, something that is there is one and only one of. The indefinite article can describe any one thing, right? So when you're talking about more generally. We'll also use the indefinite article when you mention something the first time, and the definite article when you mention that same thing a second time. An example of that is I ate a cake. The cake was delicious. So here, imagine that I talked about that I ate a cake, and then now that I'm talking about this cake, I say the cake, meaning the cake that I ate was delicious. If I said I ate the cake, I would be talking about a specific cake. Perhaps there was a cake on the table that you'd just cooked, and you came to me and said, where's the cake? It's not on the table anymore. And I might say, I ate the cake. I was referring to that cake. In this case, also, cake can have a a zero article because it's uncountable. So you could say, I ate cake. So what did you do at the party last night? I ate cake. So in that case, you're eating a lot, generally cake. If you ate a cake, it means you ate the whole cake, right? So normally we would say, I ate cake. If I said I ate a cake, you might be talking about, or hopefully you're talking about a small little cupcake, but If you ate the whole cake and big cake, then there's some other issues going on there. If you say, I ate the cake, I'm talking about a specific cake. All right. Hope that clarifies that a little bit more. A or a is used in front of words that start with a consonant, for example, B, C, D, etc. We'll talk about this more later when we talk about the advanced rule. An is used in front of the words starting with a vowel. So here we have some sentences. Choose the correct one, and you can pause the video now to do that activity. All right, so hopefully you've got your answers. You've got one, and which one of these is the correct one? Which one of these? So for number one, I watched a TV show last night. For number two, the TV show was very interesting. This is the correct. Number three, the TV show was about social media and privacy. Right? Because we have the first time we used the and the second and later time we used the. Number four, there was a man on it who spoke about social media and society, not the man on it. Okay. And I had some student questioning this, and because we haven't, if you imagine that this was a paragraph, we haven't mentioned the man before, so we don't say the man. Number five, social media has the ability to influence the way we think about ourselves. So in this one, the an ability is actually not so wrong. We could actually use that, especially if we were going to talk about other abilities of social media and give them a list, and this is just one of them. However, this our way we think is definitely wrong. It has to be the way we think. So that was the tricky one in that question. This is definitely the right answer. You could use has an ability to influence the way we not are, the way. If you had that sentence, that could be grammatically correct depending on the context of that you are using. Some more examples. I can see. Have a look at them, pause the video, and then we'll talk about the answers. Okay, so you should have had a go by now. I can see the moon in the sky. There's only one moon, there's only one sky in terms of from Earth, so we would use that. Here, these are very similar sentences, but if we're going to say movies versus movie, did you go to the movies? Did you go to a movie? You could also use the if you already knew, like for example, if I told you this morning I'm going to go see Star Wars or something like that, and when you saw me in the afternoon, you could say, "Did you go to the movie?" So that's because we are talking about a specific. I have got the biggest headache. So here we have biggest. That's a superlative. That means that we have to have the. It's the biggest, right? The most. So there's only one of them. We use the. I have a smaller sandwich than yesterday. This is comparative. So we use a because there are many sandwiches which are smaller than the one I ate yesterday. This is just one of them. One of many, we use a. Only one? Ah. Here we have Department of Employment. Because so the capitals give us a hint. It's probably the only Department of Employment. There's only one, so the. I have an apple and an orange. And then I've heard it through the grapevine. It's a common idiom. Okay, so some advanced rules. Don't use or and with uncountable nouns such as information, homework, knowledge, history, or music. You'll use some. So I've got some homework tonight. I have some information you may be interested in. Or and follows the sound of the letter, not its appearance. So an hour, an honest person, a uniform, a university. So if you listen to those, hour and honest actually start with O. Uniform, university, and a European holiday actually start with Y, a consonant Y. MBA and X-ray start with E, M, X. So it's the way that it sounds, not the way that it looks. An adjective can be placed between the article and the noun. For example, an interesting movie, an annoying song. Notice that the article responds to the first letter of the word that follows it, not the first letter of the noun it is attached to. So if you have an apple, but if you wanted to add sweet to it, you would say a sweet apple. So you change the article depending on what was starting the word that immediately follows the article. Use the with specific things. For example, fruit is a healthy snack. We're talking about fruit in general, but the fruit on the table has to be eaten. We're talking about specific fruit, the fruit that's on the table. And this can be used whether the noun is uncountable or not. So usually when we talk about fruit, we don't count it, but when we're talking about specific fruit, we use the. Don't use it with most countries except the United States, the UK, the Philippines, continents, streets, holidays, companies, languages, your home. So you don't say I'm going to the home, you say I'm going home. I'm going to church, I'm going to work, he's going to jail. Okay? So you don't say I'm going to the work. All right? You might when you're talking about people like nationalities, you don't use it unless you're specifically mentioning that group of people to talk about them. So you might say, I am Australian. You don't say, I am the Australian, right? But you might say also, the Australians are good at cricket, right? So if you're talking about that group of people specifically, you'd use the. But in general, when you're using in a sentence, you don't use an article. Some rules will depend on the context. This room needs a light. This means that there is no lights, as in lamps, light bulbs, or lighting, and the room should have one installed. But this room needs some light means that the room is a bit dim or dark, and that we could open a window or something in order to let more light in. So there's the difference between a and some, changing the meaning of the sentence. Can I have some water? You use some with uncountables. But if we're going to add containers and collections and things like that, such as a glass of water, we use the uncountable. Similarly, if we use words like ice, we don't use an article except for some, but if we put the cube with it, we do use the article. We're running out of time now, but here's my references. I hope this has been a good little introduction to articles, and we'll do more of this in class. Thanks for listening, and bye for now. See ya.